So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, what happened to Diana? Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, welcome to the Ask YP Now live show. So, this is a show focused on positive living, living with purpose, living with passion, you know, um, having a well balanced life, spending time with your family, and being able to achieve what you want most in life, and also to go and make the world a better place. Okay, so this is an interesting live show, and what you want to do is that come back every Thursday and ask us whatever questions that you have. Okay, and so this evening we have with us a wonderful guest, a special guest that have come all the way from the African continent. So I'm going to ask Diana. Hey Diana, welcome, and introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself. Yeah.
Hi, YP. So I am Diana from Uganda, from the heart of Africa. And one thing about me is that I love adventure. I love traveling. I've climbed one of the tallest mountain in Africa, which is Mountain Kilimanjaro. But in
Wow.
addition to that, yes, but in addition to that, I love working with people. I love connecting people. And I'm fortunate to be working with Business Network International and with Project Girls for Girls, two organizations which are equipping leaders, raising leaders, and empowering leaders. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe you could, for a couple of let's say for about a minute each, tell us a bit about BNI and a little bit about, Project Girls for Girls Uganda. Okay, so what are these organizations?
Okay, I'll start with Project Girls for Girls, and it is a women empowerment organization with focus on leadership in public spaces. What does leadership entail? Two key things. One is women actually stepping up to take positional leadership in their schools, in their universities, in their workplace, at the board level, and of course in government. The second prong of leadership under Project Girls for Girls is really about women taking action in their communities, in their homes, wherever they are. We are change agents, and we can begin to act in the spaces that we are in. So that's what we are. We are a global organization. So we're actually in Malaysia, we're in South Africa, we're in the US. But critical to that, it was founded in Harvard University. And so we share principles of leadership that are actually international accredited and work in every situation. And so to date in Uganda, we have had over 2,500 women mentored. We have had over 350 mentors. And together we've seen lives changed. We've seen leaders rise up, take up their position, but also begin to take action in the spaces they are in. And then for BNI is also a global organization. It's a business networking organization. And it's founded in the US, but in Uganda, started in 2015. I dared to start it, but what it does is bring business owners together. And when they come together, what do? They exchange business referrals. So they collaborate to get business, to grow their businesses through giving other members access to their already existing networks, both social and business. And in Uganda, our numbers to date are over 200 members and over 60 billion exchanged in closed business, and Uganda shillings, 60 billion Uganda shillings exchanged in closed business. So there's growth, and definitely that you see leaders rising up at different levels in the chapter and in the country leadership.
I'm just a bit curious, Diana. How did the name, Project Girls for Girls, how did that name come about?
Okay, so there were a couple of ladies who were studying in Harvard in 2016. And what happened is after Hillary Clinton lost, they were challenged on how they could leave Harvard, go back to their respective countries, and actually create an impact by raising up women who would serve in the public space. women who would take action, women who would pursue their vision and goals. And so they called it Project Girls for Girls because initially they thought they would target girls between 15 and 25. And to
Okay.
date in Uganda, we're talking to girls and women 40 plus, 30 to 40 years, and 20 to 30, and also within 15 to 19 years. That's in high school and university. So that's how it
Okay.
came about.
Okay, so there's actually two target markets in the sense of the younger girls to groom them up, and then for the older ladies, for
Yes.
them to be able to do more in the communities that they belong to. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
right.
And to be involved in the project Girls for Girls, you got to be a girl, I guess, or a woman.
Yes, you have to be of the female gender. And but
Okay.
what we indicate is that we work very much with the gentlemen in our lives, in our communities, because to be honest, still today, many times the decision makers, the policy makers are gentlemen, and so we have engaged them on different occasions, and we do have some platforms, for example, a fireside chat where we bring together male speakers to also hear from them, to get their perspective, and to let them know about what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, Diana, I'm going to ask you a very loaded question, okay?
Yes.
So, the question is, why do you think leadership is important?
I will quote, there's a quote which says, everything rises and falls on leadership. And that's John Maxwell, if I'm correct. But YP, as a leader in BNI Uganda, what happens is every 6 months, we change leadership in the chapter. And what I
Okay.
have seen for sure, what I know to be true, is that with each change in leadership, it's almost like there's a change, there's a new chapter being written, a new space being created. And leaders will innovate depending on their experience, their knowledge, their background. Leaders will make a call to action depending on their level of their astuteness, their courage, their vision. And of course, you and I know that every leader, every person has a unique vision, unique, attributes. And so when you have a leader who is clear on what they want to achieve, who is able to lead courageously, and who has good skills to lead, you find that it's actually transformational leadership. But when I say everything rises and falls on leadership, I mean that the most fundamental things. For example, having a clean space, having a clean community, having a clean home rises and falls on the leader, but also being able to achieve big goals together, being able to win and actually accelerate growth definitely rises and falls on leadership.
So, for those of you who just joined us, welcome to the Ask YP Live. Whoop, 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 Ask YP Live Now show. Okay, Ask YP Now live show, which is a show focused on positive living, living with passions, being able to spend quality time with your loved ones, and about making the world a better place. Okay, so we have with Diana with us, the National Director for BNI Uganda. And also, what's the title that you have for project, Girls for
Yeah, the
Girls?
country lead. I'm the country lead for Uganda, for
Okay,
Project
country
Girls
lead
for
for
Girls Uganda.
Uganda. Yeah, for Project Girls for Girls, which is a woman empowerment organization, grooming young women, and also I would say the middle-aged women to be able to play more active roles within the community. Okay, so thank you so much, Diana, for being with us. So just now, Diana was sharing about the importance of leadership. Can you, share from either a BNI example or a Project Girl for Girl example, how you see leadership, evolving? So in this any of these two organizations, yeah.
Okay, I will give two examples, but in Project Girls for Girls, one of the three pillars that we rely on for leadership in the public space start with vision. What do you see? What do you want to achieve? And of course, vision is personal. So how do you begin to actualize it, to write it down, to run with it? The second one is courage, because we emphasize that leaders are constantly evolving. Leaders must take the small steps, take action to begin to change the world around them. But change starts with you. And then we focus on skills, which are communication skills. So we train the women to be able to communicate with confidence and accurately and make a call to action, but also we train them on negotiation skills, because many times when they go out in the world tells them you can't have what you actually want. And so I'll give you a very interesting example. We mentored university students, medical school students, and one of them, where she was living in her community, there was a gentleman who was beating up his wife. So this used to happen every time. So this lady actually left her house, went she's young, she's below, 20, she's 22. And in Africa, you don't interfere with another person's home, and especially when you're that young. But she courageously walked to this house, knocked on the door, and said, I'm here to just take you through actually what happens when you begin to beat your wife. And she took him through, the physical effects, the mental effects, and I tell you that domestic violence ended. But we have also seen those medical students begin to go out and educate members of their community around self-health, around non-communicable diseases, personal initiative actually driving this. And so what you find is that everybody has an idea of how they can create change in their environment, but the challenge is they're afraid to start, and many times they don't know how. They don't know how to communicate, and they don't know how to negotiate. And so we bridge that in Girls for Girls, and we've seen the results. In BNI, one thing that I will say is that many business owners come into BNI with an attitude of what is in it for me. But we begin to engage them, and we emphasize that the BNI philosophy is all about givers gain. And what does that mean? It means you have something to give to others, and in turn, others will have something to give to you. And so today, YP, I was in a gathering with over 200 business owners, and one of them was sharing her experience. She said she joined BNI with a business that was too small, that she was also embarrassed to talk about it. But today, that business has actually grown. She's very confident about the business, but also she's been able to give close to 2 billion Uganda shillings to other members. And so you can see that it empowered her to actually become a giver, but it also empowered her to lead herself, to grow her business. And she's really, really reaping, the fruits of investing the time, investing the effort in learning how to work the BNI system. So both ways, for me, it's about understanding the process, because there's always a process. It's about leading yourself in whatever space you're in, because once you can lead yourself, once you acquire the discipline, once you acquire the fortitude, the resilience to push through, then you're able actually to come out and people will see the results. The results will just be manifested because you've conquered your fears and you've been able to allow yourself to live fully.
Okay. Thanks, Diana. I hear you say the word, empower quite a few times already. And, this evening show, you're talking about empowering, how to empower leaders. Okay. So what are your thoughts? How do we actually empower people to take on leadership? Yeah.
Okay. So the one thing that YP we've shared on before is, one, get people to understand their why. Why are they doing what they are doing? And of course, Simon Sinek wrote a book. If you've not read it, start with why. Because once you understand why you're doing what you're doing, one, it becomes very easy for you to actually communicate it to others and actually bring other people on board, because a leader begins to influence. Okay. And to have influence, you must actually have conviction. And that conviction starts with understanding why you're doing what you're doing and where you are. The second thing that I will say, a leader must be a lifelong learner. I don't know everything. I have not met any leader who says they know everything, but we can learn and we can continue to evolve. We can continue to adapt. We can continue to be resilient in tough times. And so learning exposes you. And I would encourage, if any leader listening, what is your plan for learning, continuous growth? And this could be in your country or outside. Now that we're online, for many opportunities are online. reach out there and learn something new, learn something in line with what you want to achieve. And the other one, YP, is a bit hard
Mhm.
to articulate, but I really want to say you must believe. You must believe in your vision. There's the why, but as a leader, how do we begin to empower you? I think for me, I don't want to call it coaching conversations, but I encourage every person who wants to lead to get a coach, because you need to unpack those self-limiting beliefs. You need to unpack what you call, baggage, and you need to leave it
Okay.
behind. You need to begin to believe in yourself, and that comes through coaching. That comes through intentional growth internally. Yeah, that's what I would say about empowering
So that
yourself to lead.
when you talk about leadership, Diana, there's actually two types of leadership, isn't it? Leadership within and leadership
Yes,
without. Mean that
yes,
sometimes it's not so easy to want to lead ourselves from within, and sometimes you need somebody who is outside that don't see all the clutter in our mind, and help us to move forward.
very
Right? I
true.
totally agree with that. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, very true.
Yeah. So there's a question here. Hi, Angeline. Angeline is from Taiwan. Yep. Angeline, if you got any questions, come and type your question in there. There's a question there. Okay. That says this is Sunward Lin. Okay. Sunward, I think is from Vietnam. Looking at the last name, he says that I'm 37 years old. I'm dealing with career choice. So, can you give me some words? So, Diana, is somebody from the sphere of leadership. Okay, 37 years old, trying to make some career choices. How would you tie choice and leadership? Okay, right.
Okay, so I will say, one, he's fortunate he has a choice. So that's a starting point. If you have a choice between one or two things, you are already in a privileged position. But most importantly, you can begin to choose. You can choose, and that power for me is leadership right there, because you must take an action, and that action will be followed by other predetermined steps to enable you reach where you're going. So for the question, I would say first start with literally looking at where you are and where you want to be 6 months from today, 1 year from today, 2 years from today, 5 years from today. Now, what will it take to get you there? That's a very important question you have to ask for yourself. You have to ask
Mm,
yourself, because you may make some sacrifices. You will have to make some sacrifices. You may have to say no to some opportunities which are looking so nice. But if you know where you're going, the road begins to open up. The path begins to unfold daily, weekly, monthly. The second thing that a wise man once told me, he told me, paint a picture of the life that you want. So he said,
oh
paint it,
yeah.
put everything in there. So I said, I love traveling. I love working with people. I love working with children. I love, giving back to community. And then he said, how much of that life are you? How much of your life today is in that picture? And so I began to say, okay, yes, today I'm still doing this. I'm still doing this. And he said, what is not in your life today? What is on that picture that is not in your life today? And what is it going to take for it to be a reality? And again, you must have clarity. I think that's what I'm saying. You must have clarity. If you're visual, draw the picture. If you love words, write it down. you know if you need to talk to somebody, reach out to somebody who knows you and with whom you can be honest about the challenges you're facing and what's holding you back, or what you need to do to get forward.
Makes sense. So,
Okay, I don't.
Sunward, these are words of wisdom. So what Diana is telling you is you got to know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what you want your life to be. If you are visual, paint a picture of it, and once you are clear about what you want in your life, then it's easier to make a choice, isn't it? Have I summed that up more or less correctly, Diana?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And
yeah.
remember, you can ask for help. You've asked a question here today, but there's someone closer to you in your community whom you can ask for help. And once you begin to speak up and ask, you will find that the teacher shows up and you will receive answers. So keep asking this question.
Yeah. So there's an
Mm.
answer. I mean, there's a question, isn't it, or a statement, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. So, so now I've got a question. Okay. Some people say leaders are born, and some people say leaders are created. Okay. So, what are your thoughts? Okay. Are leaders born or created?
YP, I'm a real example that leaders are created. I come from a family of 10 children. I'm the seventh. And
Wow.
growing up, I was not the leader, definitely with the six before me. But I was that quiet person. I was the one who loved to read. I was the one who loved to look after people in the back, at the end of the back room, you know. But what happened, I think, two things that really changed everything is I once did a course and someone mentioned it that, educated people are very easily led. She said the higher, the more educated the person, the fewer questions they ask. Maybe they're
Oh.
afraid of looking silly, or maybe they just are happy with the status quo. They are in a cocoon, they are not questioning. Maybe I can earn more. Maybe I can do more. They are just happy with, in Africa, we say when you're driving a four-wheel drive, a Toyota, a Lexus, you've arrived. And so they say to me that statement remained with me. And I began to question everything. And the more I questioned things in the rooms that I was in, the more my leadership was recognized. Really, that's what I would say was the turning point. Because immediately I started putting up my hand, people would then revert to me. And also because I think I have a solution oriented mindset. When I see a problem and I put up my hand, I have like one suggestion at least. Can we do this? What about
Mm,
this? And so I think that's when my leadership turned. But definitely leaders are created, leaders are not born. And for me, it is in the daily actions. I think my reading widely helped a lot in my journey because it allowed me to ask questions. And my legal background helped a lot in the journey because already I can understand and appreciate certain elements of law that people need to apply
mhm,
daily, and I can apply it with ease. And so
mm,
every leader in him and through his experience are seeds. But when we begin to water those seeds by stepping up, then we
mm,
begin to actually create the leader we want to be. Even today, I'm in coaching, I'm constantly learning, I'm challenging myself in spaces that to be in spaces that I ordinarily would not comfortably be in. But the intentionality is that I want to be the best version of me that I can be. And so, to everybody listening, I think the most important thing to do is also remember you cannot be John Maxwell, you cannot be, YP Lai, as much as would like to
thank you.
clone you and plant seeds of you, but you can improve. You can be the best version of you in the space that you're in the community that you're in. You are the influencer that you're meant to be and that you're created to be. Thank you, YP.
Thanks, Diana, and that's very inspiring. So for those of you who are listening in, whether you're listening it live or you're listening to the recording on the multi platforms on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, um, just realize that leadership is something that if you wait, let me say correctly. Leadership is something that you can pick up. There are skills, okay. There are skills that you can learn how to become a better leader. And in your community, who is that one person that you look up to the most, or the group of people that you look up to most? And you can always approach them. And this is what I say, on the in the field learning, getting your hands dirty. Okay, you can learn from the people you look up to, and that's what I did in my earlier days. And of course, Diana has shared that leaders are readers. Correct. I learned this from another great BNI leader, Murali Sundaram, okay, the happiness coach. And he's the one that says that, all leaders read a lot so that we upskill ourselves, right? So definitely, if you want to be a leader, and I'm sure every single one of you listening in want to be a leader, start doing the small bits to improve your leadership skills. So Diana, you have mentioned quite a few things. So if I'm somebody aspiring to be a leader, I'm a young person. So let's say I'm a member of your. I know from the gender viewpoint I can't be, but
Yes.
let's say it's a young girl or young lady that wants to, pick up leadership in the, project Girls for Girls, what would be the one single tip that you'll give? What's the first step?
I'll say volunteer.
Okay.
Volunteering will get you in the door, because every leader needs help, and every leader is looking for extra hands, unique talent, and every one of us has something unique that we can add. So volunteer within your comfort zone, within a time that is comfortable for you. Even if you give 1 hour, it will make a difference to the whole community. That's the one thing that I would say, and it catches the leader's eye, because they begin to say, okay, Diana is here, what is she doing, what does she bring to the table? So that's one thing I'll say. Visibility. In BNI, we talk about visibility, and visibility is powerful, because once you come into my space, then I begin to ask, who is that? I get to know your name. Then I begin to gauge your credibility from how you show up, and so on and so forth. And in Girls for Girls, I've seen in Project Girls for Girls, I volunteered to lead, and it's given me an amazing opportunity to. I'm still a volunteer. It's an unpaid. It's a vocation. I'm giving back to the women and girls of Uganda, but I've also gotten an opportunity to work with amazing women from across the world, because we have G4G South Africa. I'm learning from them, because we're in Malaysia, we're in Kuwait, we're in Pakistan, and guess what? A lot of those women are opening up opportunities for me in places that I would never have been in, and definitely in with people that would never have known me from anyone. So, and again, for me, this critical to volunteering is being intentional as a young person in understanding the values of the place, the organization, the workplace, so that you can see if your personal values are aligned to the values of the organization that you're working with, because it helps you show up with conviction. It helps you show up with purpose. That's what I will say. The more aligned your values are with the values of the people, the organization, the school, the more intentional and purposeful you are about excelling, about giving, and about succeeding in that space.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening, if you've got any questions or comments, please type into the chat. Yeah. So, I've been doing a lot of work, helping people become better leaders, helping people to, get their time and financial freedom. And Diana, do you know what's my intention behind? Perhaps not, right?
I know your intention is to help people live better, have more financial freedom, and you're committed to reaching over 10,000 leaders.
Good. Thanks. Thank you so much. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes for me to share with you a little bit of video. I've actually now, made it into a little video clip, so it's easier to share what I call my noble cause. Yeah, my intention of doing what I do. Okay, here
Once
goes.
we can take care of ourselves and our family, there's so much that we can do in our little ways to contribute back to humanity. And I love this saying from Richard Branson: there's no greater thing they can do with your life and your work than follow your passion in a way that serves the world and you. So many of the most successful entrepreneurs, are actually giving back to society, giving back to their communities, giving back to humanity. And so with this, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage all of you to join me, okay, in this mission, okay, to be part of a global community of 10,000 entrepreneurs who work less, earn more. So I want you to be able to be in a situation where you can look after yourself and your family first, okay, to be able to live and then live a life of passion, spend quality time with your loved ones, and then with your additional resources, let's hold our hands, let's together make the world a better place. So I invite you to come and join me. This is Y Pillai, your Work Less, Earn More expert. Looking forward to having 10,000 entrepreneurs who are making a positive change in the world. Come and join me. All the best to you. Thank you.
That's fun, isn't it, Diana? And you're definitely one of the many entrepreneurs that I'm blessed to have in my life, who are actually making a difference in the local community.
We're the lucky ones, YP, to know you and to be connected to your global village.
Yeah. Okay. So we are coming up to 7:30 my time, or to 30 minutes. So I'm going to ask a parting question from Diana. Before we end up or wrap up the show. What's your tip? For any person out there, doesn't matter what the age is. If they want to make an impact in their community through better leadership skills. What would your tip be for them? Okay.
Uh, I
Your
think
advice.
my tip, yes, my advice, I would start from saying, and look at your community and ask yourself, what is painful? What causes you pain? Or what would you want to change about your community? Okay. Once you have that clearly, you can look for organizations within your community that are doing the same thing or that are dealing with a problem. If they're there, you can join them. If they're not there, you can start your own organization and
Okay.
invite other people to join you. And that right there is you leading small, starting small and beginning to change. And I'll tell you why. For example, I joined Rotary because in Uganda, Rotary actually creates solutions for water, for health, for sanitation, and education. So many lives have been changed because Rotarians have come together. And I always say that if I just give my $1, I will be matched by 100 other people, and we will make it 100. It's so much and so much. And then when I joined BNI, one of my pain points in business as a lawyer is that people were doing business, but very, very cutthroat, very competitive. And I felt that business could be done in a more collaborative way. And so the givers gain philosophy drew me in. And in Project Girls for Girls, my pain point was always that there were many women who did not have the opportunities that I had. I appreciate that I'm privileged in my community, but many women I knew did not have the opportunity I had to be supported, to be provided with good education. And through Girls for Girls, I know that we are reaching even the underprivileged, even those who do not have the access to actually get into those places of learning that I went to. But being able to share lessons and being able to inspire them and being able to equip them has seen them beginning to influence and begin to rise up. So that's what I would say. Look at the pain point, look at the problem in your community. Who is doing it? Who's doing something about it? Can you join them? If you can't join them, can you start something? And I promise you, even if you start small, that seed will bear fruit. Thank you, YP.
Thanks, Diana. And the key message I got from what you just shared is the word collaboration. Sometimes when we try to do things alone, we may not have sufficient resources. But the minute we collaborate, the minute we work with other people within the community to make a difference, that's where the magic happens, right? That's where 1 + 1 does not equals 2, is 1 + 1 equals 3, or in fact more, right? Because we feed off each other's energy, we feed off each other's resources, and we can definitely make this world a better place. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you enjoyed today's show with Diana. And, today's show was talking about how to empower leaders. And we know that, leaders are not born, but can be created. Yeah. So we can learn the leadership skills, and every single one of us in our own way can make a difference, right? And as a leader, we are not only looking towards to always be the leader, right? We need to empower other people. As John Maxwell says, leaders create more leaders, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you very much for joining today's show. And I'm just going to give a quick, advert for next week's show. Okay, so next week, we can have another lady coming all the way from Jakarta, Indonesia. She's the owner, she's Grace. She is the owner of an executive boutique service, and she's going to talk about business trends. Nowadays with technology, the business world is moving really, really fast. And you have to know what are the business trends that will turbocharge your business in 2022. And Grace is the best person to share with you. So make sure that you come back, on this channel that you're listening to next week, right? And for those of you who are here, I promise you a gift, okay? I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you an ebook that I've written that's published on Amazon. Take a picture of this link here. If not, take a snapshot of the QR code behind me. Is it here? Okay, this here, the QR code. and you're going to have the link to this book. Okay, so this is 10 proven strategies to work less and earn more. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and we're going to see you next week. Bye bye.